up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching the Marvel edition of the Ragin Nation show. This is just a web series where we're talking about all things matter to me in the world of Marvel films. This is episode number 85, and yesterday I saw Ant-Man, loved it. I did a spoiler-free review for it, so if you haven't seen the movie and you want to know how I felt without getting into any specific details, check out the previous video. But for right now, be warned. This video is full of spoilers because I'm going to do my spoiler chat review. We're going to get into specific details, major plot points, and lots of spoilerific territory. So, here we go. Let's start off. First of all, let's start off with the beginning of the movie, okay? That flashback scene in 1989. They did an amazing job making Michael Douglas look young. I mean, it looks like he stepped out of Basic Instinct, okay? I mean, okay, maybe not that young, but they did a really great job. And I'm sure it was a combination of maybe a little bit of makeup, of course, recoloring the hair, and of course, CG work. So they did a great job with that. And that scene where he, goes up to Howard Stark, and then you see Peggy Carter there. And I know she doesn't do a whole lot in the movie, or she doesn't have a whole lot of lines, rather. But still, it was a nice touch to really see that, that connection. Because Ant-Man feels kind of like a standalone film when you really think about it. But there is that connection there. So it really reminds the fans that Ant-Man, while it takes place in San Francisco, away from all the madness from, New York and other parts of the world where the Marvel Cinematic Universe films have taken place, this is still connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We see Howard Stark there, played by John Slattery, which we saw in Iron Man 2, and of course Peggy Carter. And you see a little bit of that tension between Hank Pym, with Pym Technologies, and Howard Stark with Stark Industries. They have a little bit of their feud going on, and Hank Pym doesn't want Howard Stark to have the Pym particles. So that was a great way to start off the film. And then afterwards, we get the origin story for Scott Lang. Now, I know it's slightly different from the comic books, but I like the way that they put the spin on it. I like the way that they revised things a little bit more to have it more of a... I think they did it because they wanted to give it more of a human story, because we do see that story of Scott Lang where he needs to get back with his daughter, and he does that in a way that we've seen in many other movies before, and that is the only way you can see your daughter is if you pay your dues. You got to do something. You got to do something extraordinary to win her back, and we get that, okay? And that is saving the world, but not quite saving the world. It was more of a human story that we get. It's about saving her daughter, essentially saving his family. And that is, of course, from the big bad villain, Corey Stoll. But, Corey Stoll, who plays the character of, not really Yellow Jacket, but Darren Cross, he's out for doing something bad. Okay, he's doing something bad because he's jealous of the fact that, or not jealous, but he's upset by the fact that Hank Pym, his mentor, won't even give him the Pym particles. So he goes out and tries to recreate that technology, and we just get to hate him more and more and more because he keeps on experimenting on these really cute sheep. And I love the way that Peyton Reed decided to get the cutest sheep ever. I'm sure that could have been a CG sheep, but the fact is they got the cutest possible sheep, and then Darren Cross obliterates it because of failed experiments in trying to recreate the Pym particles. So we are just hating this character more and more and more as he experiments on more animals, but eventually he pulls it off. And let me tell you, when he uses the shrinking technology on the guy that he doesn't really like that he deals with, and he shrink them into this mush. Oh man, that was kind of gross. Okay, that was kind of gross, but at the same time, it showed how evil he was. Okay. We knew that he was going to do it, but we didn't know that he was going to turn him into some mush and wipe him away and flush him down the toilet. I mean, that was so evil. That was so villainous. I mean, that made you really hate the character. It made you feel that he was such a slimy villain. So that was done really well. Okay. What else was there that I gotta talk about? Ant-Man, okay? Ant-Man, the training scenes, and also becoming Ant-Man. I love all the scenes when he was Ant-Man. He goes he starts off in the bathtub, the water coming down, and then like I'm watching it in IMAX 3D, and I just felt like, wow, we are brought into another world. We are brought into a world that we've never seen before ever in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I love how Peyton Reed directed that scene, but I felt that those are the scenes where Edgar Wright really shined. Those are the scenes where they took Edgar Wright's, they didn't completely destroy what Edgar Wright created. I'm pretty sure that is how exactly Edgar Wright pictured his Ant-Man scenes to be. And they're done so well, okay? You really feel that Ant-Man is small, like in the smallest possible way. You really feel like I'm in the bathtub with Scott Lang, okay? I know that sounds kind of crazy, but still, that's what I felt like. And then he's shrunken down, goes down the drain, and it goes through these ventilation grates, and it ends up in a club. And then these people are could be stepping all over him, and I really felt for Scott Lang. I was feeling for his safety because like he could get stepped on, and you really feel this sense of danger for him because not only is this character a character you want to root for, but there are a lot of things that are going against him, like the fact that he could get swatted or he could be stepped on. Okay, so that's a pretty big thing. But I love that he finally is able to harness that ability, and not just that ability, but not just the ability of shrinking, but also the ability of controlling ants. I love that the ant element in Ant-Man plays a huge part in this film. All right, he learns to be buddies with these ants. In fact, we have an ant named Anthony, and I was really sad. I was legitimately sad when Darren Cross shot him, and you know what? You see that little wing just like going like, I felt so sad. I almost felt like I wanted to cry. And I felt so emotional for an ant. An ant, a very insignificant thing, but Peyton Reed brought this character to life, okay? And the ants are so cute. They're all able to do these things which you don't expect them to do, such as add sugar to a cup of coffee, okay? They work together. They work just like ants. And from what I understood, Scott Lang, he bought an ant farm to study the ants. And he really was able to understand how they work. And I think that really led to the performance of Ant-Man, because like he wrote the dialogue as well, along with Adam McKay, Joe Cornish, and Edgar Wright. He wrote the dialogue in a way that really helped him understand ants for the character of Scott Lang. So that was great. Okay. Now, as for Hope Van Dyne, or rather Janet Van Dyne, I loved the flashback scene. This flashback scene was one of those fanboy moments. Like, I did not know if we were going to see Wasp. Something told me that I just felt that this is an Ant-Man film, and it's an Ant-Man film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is essentially about the Avengers. You gotta have Wasp in there, all right? And I felt that, okay, they're either going to just mention Wasp or they're going to put her in there. But they never once put Wasp in the trailers, so they have to do some kind of nod to Wasp. They have to. And then we get that scene with Janet Van Dyne as Wasp, and I was like, yes! That was freaking awesome. And I love that Hank Pym is the original Ant-Man, just like in the comics, okay? But we see that Hank Pym, he has been doing things. He's been doing things with Wasp on his own before all of this was taking place. He was doing things for S.H.I.E.L.D., okay? And it was just so cool to see that this is a multi-layered story. It isn't just about Scott Lang as Ant-Man, but there's the story of Hank Pym as the previous Ant-Man. And he's got his own story as well with Janet Van Dyne. And that's going on parallel, or that was going on parallel during the time where S.H.I.E.L.D. was, they were out saving the world. So, that was great. I really love that. And of course, you gotta love the Avengers references, okay? That was something that I totally loved, but didn't expect so much of. After all, we are in the final act of Phase 2, the final film in Phase 2. We've seen 11 films already, so you gotta have a film which pays homage to the, or rather has nods to the Avengers. You just have to, alright? The Avengers exist. So you cannot just have a superhero movie and have these superhero abilities and wear a suit without talking about the Avengers. You have to have that, okay? And I'm glad they put that in a very big way, because they put in one of my favorite, first of all, one of my favorite actors of all time is in there. Anthony Mackie playing Falcon. He is Falcon again. He plays security for the Avengers headquarters, and what a scene. That scene was done really, really well. It's a fight scene, okay, between Ant-Man and Falcon, and you did not expect to see that coming, okay? I just did not expect to see that coming. And speaking of fight scenes, Ant-Man versus Yellowjacket. Wow. Once again, something we've never seen before. And I love that it wasn't just about doing a fight scene in the style of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It wasn't. It was something completely different because of the whole macro photography. The way they did that, you just really felt that everything felt big. Everything felt big, and the 3D really helped it. The IMAX 3 really helped bring that scene to life, where we really felt that these things are huge, okay? They're really, really tiny. It didn't just feel like everything just got bigger. It felt like these guys were legitimately tiny, okay? And I love that it goes in and out of macro photography to regular photography, because even though there's this big, huge fight scene with this grand music going on, once it zooms out into the regular mode, it's just like pew, 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 pew. And that lends to its comedy, okay? You have to have that going on. It's something that, like I said, has never been done before. And the way they handled it, the way Edgar Wright and Peyton Reed handled it, they just did it so geniusly. It was completely brilliant, okay? And speaking of which, Hank Pym, Hope Van Dyne, getting out of the building with a tank keychain that became a huge tank. Oh my god. Yes! There's just a lot of crowd-pleasing moments in this film. So I've talked about a lot of things that I didn't, that I really, really loved. I'll tell you the one thing that really, that I thought could have been better. And that is, that's something that I've mentioned briefly in my spoiler-free review, and that is Yellowjacket. Yellowjacket just isn't a memorable villain. I find that a lot of what happens in Marvel Cinematic Universe films is that they spend so much time developing the hero character that they don't spend enough time with the villain. I gotta say that even though Ultron is a very formidable opponent, he still feels quite... he doesn't have a whole lot of depth to him, to be completely honest. I think that Loki is a very, very unique type of villain. But he's not very strong physically. Okay, he's not scary. He's just very unpredictable. And I think that out of all the villains that ever existed in Marvel Cinematic Universe, Loki has got to be the I guess, most strongest villain in terms of a strong character. Okay, Yellowjacket is a very, very cookie-cutter type of villain. He's just really fun to watch when he's fighting Ant-Man because of the nature of their characters. They can shrink and they can get larger, and not only that, he has a really, really cool suit. His suit is really, really cool, okay? But that combined is not good enough to make him a very, very iconic villain, which he's not, okay? But for the most part, he does a great job. Darren Cross, played by Corey Stoll, he does a great job being Darren Cross and Yellowjacket. So those scenes when they fight are really, really awesome. And the last thing I got to talk about is the Easter eggs. The Easter eggs at the end of the movie, the Wasp scene was a scene that everybody, entire theater, well, just the Marvel fans just went, yes! We're going to see Wasps. Okay, Wasp definitely, Evangeline Lilly, she's definitely got to be signed on for more Ant-Man sequels, and also hopefully joining the Avengers in future films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I hope we see her. But as for the end credits scene, this is a great way to start off Phase 3. Phase 3 starts off with Captain America: Civil War, and you know that at the end of the day, even though we see a lot of the Avengers members in Civil War, it is still the Captain America film, okay? And the how we know that is when Anthony Mackie talks to Caps, and then he says, "Look, should we tell Stark about it?" And no, we got to keep him out of it. Is there anything we can talk to? And then Anthony Mackie or rather Falcon goes, "I know a guy." And then it says Ant-Man really returned. I'm like, yes. Everybody was like, oh, and all of us felt like kids again. Okay, we felt like kids when we were reading comic books, and this is like a new. I gotta say that the Marvel Cinematic Universe and what they're doing is really like, it's literally comic books brought to life. Okay, it's even though we have to wait so many months before we see the next story. It's exactly like what it's like to read a comic book, flip the pages, and then you want to buy the next issue. I cannot wait for the next issue. Captain America Civil War cannot come any sooner. But I just love what they've done with the movie. Peyton Reed nailed it. The entire cast and crew, they did a great job. And as long as, if they can just give us a stronger character in terms of the villain, it would make this movie perfect. Okay? Go watch this movie. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 78%. It deserves higher. Okay, definitely deserves higher. And it felt like a heist film, like Ocean's 11, with Iron Man combined with the humor of Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, all these things combined made for a great film. And of course, Paul Rudd nailed it. Okay, so there you have it. That's all I got to say in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Let's talk about some spoilers. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. Peace. America. But still, this one does it really, really well, because I think that the element of wanting to see your daughter again and wanting to connect that relationship